Hello everyone, welcome to episode 17 of How to Play Like a WoW Pro. Today we're going to be featuring a replay in the Bourrasque on Airfield from the west spawn. Let's first talk a little bit about what kind of equipment you should run on the Bourrasque. So in my professional opinion, you should be running V-Stab, that's a guaranteed equipment slot. And then the other two choices are really up to you. But what I would recommend are, first of all, rotation mechanism and improved aiming unit, or vents and improved aiming unit. Now, if you don't have the bounty aiming unit, then I wouldn't run it at all. A regular aiming unit is just not as good as regular vents. But if you have the bounty version, then it probably is worth running on either one of your loadouts. You could also run something like turbo or optics, but in my opinion it's just not worth it. This thing is already fast enough, and its gun really needs everything that it can get to have better dispersion values while on the move and for fully aimed dispersion values. Now on Airfield in a fast tank, I have two general plays I like to make in either a medium tank or a light tank. The most standard play is just to go up to this perch here to start off with and try to get early shots into tanks that cross through the middle, like this pathing here or this pathing here. And you really just play up here and look for free shots. Sometimes tanks will poke right here, and if you're playing to this side of the rock, then you'll get free shots on them. Besides that though, there's really not too much else to do from that position. But an alternative position that you can play, especially if the enemy team has a lot of heavy tanks, is to play in this position right here. Especially if you're low profile. You can play in here and you can just shoot enemy heavy tanks in the side that are playing right here. You can double bush on them. There's a bush right on the edge of the hill right here, and you can pull back behind it and shoot them, and then pull forward and spot them again. So those are the two most important positions on this map, in my opinion, from this side to play in either a light tank or a medium tank. Even in some heavy tanks, really. Like a 50B can play up here, for example. A 277 or something. Probably a VZ actually would be a good tank to play in this position here. But again, I don't use this position as often as I use this perch position that I'm taking right now, just because this position here is only good if heavy tanks are playing in this area here, and if the enemy just doesn't have many heavy tanks, then this position is probably just not very useful for you. And another thing to mention, I already kind of mentioned it, but if you're high profile, like if you're a very tall tank like a T110E5, and you try to play in this position, then tanks that are playing right here and right here can very easily shoot you. So you really can't play there unless you're in a low profile tank. But here, this is one of the good things about this position. You can sometimes get early damage on enemy tanks that are crossing in towards the middle of the map. Now in the Bourrasque in general, a good tip to use is poking around corners backwards. Just because your turret is already middle mounted, so poking frontwards doesn't really give you any advantage to getting your gun on target as quickly. So you might as well just be poking backwards so that you can escape quicker. The same is true for the Batchat, and the Bourrasque really has a pretty similar playstyle to the Batchat. Yes, the Bourrasque has a shorter intro clip, which does make a difference, but the gun stats, like the handling of the gun, is very poor, just like the Batchat. And they're both autoloaders, and they're both quick, and their turrets are both located towards the rear of the tank. On the Bourrasque, it's more towards the middle of the tank, but it still it means that you have to play in a similar manner where you poke around corners backwards instead of frontwards. Now here in the battle, I don't feel like I'm going to get any more damage on the tanks in the middle, specifically this Lorraine. And if you look at what's spotted on their team, they have an unlit TD, they have an unlit heavy, 2 unlit heavy tanks, an unlit G-Sor. So 2 TDs and 2 heavies are unlit. None of those tanks are going to be playing in the middle here. So like I said earlier, you can shoot this position right here if you're playing right here. There's a crossfire right here. None of those tanks are lit though, and none of them are like medium tanks or light tanks, so they're not going to be playing here most likely. So I have no reason to sit around here waiting for damage because there's no damage. There will be no damage to be had. So instead, I decide to rotate over to this position here in order to shoot tanks that are poking here, because I'm looking at the minimap and I can see that they have 3 tanks right now, which all could potentially pull up into this position here, and then I get free side shots on them. This Basante right now, if I was over there already, I would have shots on him right now. So that's my plan right now, is to head over there. And if you're wondering how to get off the perch, this is the route you take. Now, one disadvantage to not just starting out at this position is if you start out here and you want to rotate here later, if you want to take the short path, you're going to have to cross here, and you can get shot from this perch up here very easily. But I take the shortest route as I possibly can, and thankfully nobody bleeds me. Nobody was spotted on their perch either, so I didn't really think there was a great chance that I would get punished for what I was doing. But here you can see how I pull forward into the bushes. I'm thinking about backing up right now, but I decided it's not worth it because I just have such juicy shots right now. And I'm going to be going on reload anyways after I fire, so it doesn't really matter that I'm spotted because I can just get safe anyways. So I don't really bother pulling behind the bush 15 meters. Now I'm just working in the middle looking for different kind of angles on this tiger. Can't find anything. I'm thinking about shooting down his house, but I only have 2 shells, so I would have to shoot down 1/2 of a building, and he would have to be exposed on the other side for me to get a second shot in, and it doesn't work out. But in general, on Airfield, as Skill for LTU says, this map is you push, you lose. That's usually the case. It's not always the case, but in general on Airfield, you just want to play passive and let the enemies make the mistakes. You don't want to be pushing the tempo unless you have a clear advantage. And from this side of the map especially, there really just isn't anywhere to make pressure very easily. You can't really push the south unless it's completely clear. You can't push the middle, obviously. There's just way too many snipers that can shoot you. And then pushing over here, once again, this Basante, he's completely in the open to this sniper position up here, so you can't push this top side. And if you try to push the low side on the other side of this hill, then this outside position here can shoot you. So unless you find some kind of weak spot in the enemy defenses, you aren't going to be able to push on this map very easily at all. But now that we've won the middle, I'm looking for some different angles in the middle to try to get side shots on their snipers, or maybe to shoot this 50 TP who's in there, who moved up to their perch. Now this thing is not a great sniper, it really isn't. Especially when you're shooting higher tiers, because its penetration is not that great. It's only, I think it's 240. Yeah, 240. Which is not great. But I don't really have any other options right now. One thing I could potentially do is cross through the south and try to push through here. But I would just be taking a 1v1 versus a G-Sor, and I just really don't feel like dealing with that. I feel like I'm better off just staying middle right now and hoping that somebody messes up. I'm especially keeping my eye on this 50 TP because right now he's trapped on this little corner of the perch. If he moves out like this to try to get back to this location, then he'll probably get spotted through the bush, and then I'll be able to shoot him. Right now I'm moving over here to get a slightly different angle. I think I moved over here because I was anticipating our light tank to fall back and the G-Sor to maybe push around. Also maybe just to get a better shot on these guys, but I do find a free shot, so that's nice. Unfortunately, that one misses. And now I can see that we're losing quite badly. Well, maybe quite badly is a bit of an overstatement. We're losing by a decent amount. And we've lost our map control in the south once again. So now this is going to go back to a stalemate. Before we were kind of pushing through the south, and it looked like something might happen, but the enemy defended it, so now we're once again at a stalemate. And like I said, this map is you push, you lose. And I really don't want to push into a G-Sor. I don't think there's any opportunity to push north. If I were to push north like this, I would just run into this Wheezy TD, and I don't need that. He's a tier 9. I'm just going to lose to him. I have bad DPM. I would just put 2 shots in and then die, so I have to play passive right now. And the good thing is, if the enemy decides to push, I have a ton of crossfires all over the map right now, playing the middle like I am. So there's really nowhere that they can push without me spotting them and shooting them. So I spot this I-6 moving up. He wasn't lit the entire battle so far, but he finally gets lit there. And I see the G-Sor moving up as well. Thankfully he doesn't spot me in return. This thing has extremely good camo. Even on the move, it's almost light tank level. Stationary, it actually is light tank level. While moving, it's only a little bit worse than light tanks. It might even be better than some light tanks which have poor camo. But I see the enemies are kind of pushing up in the south, and they still have enough HP that I can't one-clip them, so I need to play a little bit cautious here in the center. I can still play here because I'm fast enough to run away if they push up, but I just need to be ready to run, because if they try to push through the south, there isn't going to be much that I can do to stop them. But I return to this position once again. This position is very strong, but you do need to watch out for especially this spot right here, especially if you have a poorly armored turret, like I obviously do. They can kind of go haul down on you, especially if they have gun depression, and your TDs may or may not be able to punish them. Your TDs, if they're playing the base here or here, they generally can punish enemy tanks who try to overpeak here. Your RD can as well. And then of course yourself, you can. But that doesn't stop some enemies from just doing it anyways, so it's something you need to watch out for when you're playing this position. I'm saving my shot here. I probably should just reload at this point. I-6 knows that I'm here because I shot him, so I think I'm just hoping to get a shot into this Tiger 2 because I'm on lit right now. I'm out lighting him through the bush, and he's not able to light me back, so I'm hoping that I can get a side shot on him. Unfortunately, I get lit, so it doesn't work out. And I think I probably check this corner first. Yeah. I check this corner, I see that the Conway and the G-Sor are pushing. I still have 1 shot. If I would have reloaded way back then I would be about reloaded right now. So that was probably a mistake not to reload. I get a nice shot in. And now, if you pay attention, they push through the north, and we are down 5,000 HP, and we have a third of their health. So this is a very bad situation for me. Now these guys, it'll take 4 shots to kill them, and there's no one else to help me besides the Arty. So I don't see this pathing anywhere over here as a viable option. I can't push through here because this 50 TP is pushing through. He's full HP. I could maybe push like this. I guess I probably could have, but I thought that my best option right now would be to try to fight the Tiger 2 and then escape through the east. Even if I don't kill the Tiger 2 here, I can still escape from him, but my best shot at surviving is to kill this guy with these 2 shots, which I do need a high roll for. This thing has 720 alpha when you get both of your shots off. But thankfully the Arty hits him, so I don't have to high roll. I just get the kill for free. Well, I took a shot for it, but you know what I mean. And now I escape. And I'm trying to get distance between the enemies, but I see that the G-Stork pushed through. And I'm worried about the cap, basically, because the 50 TP is also pushing through. And I know that this is almost definitely a loss at this point, because I don't even have the ammunition to carry this right now. But I'm still going to try my best to do as well as I can. But first I want to see if this T26E5 is coming back to base. I'm trying to see if anybody's chasing me down through here. Like this I6 black could be pushing me right here. This Conway could have gone up to these ridges, or this guy could be somewhere in the middle right now, trying to chase my last known position. And so that's why I'm circling back to try to check this area here. And as it turns out, the Conway actually is in the middle, pushing me. Unfortunately, I missed my first shot. I don't think I aimed it poorly. I just was quick on the trigger because I didn't want him to shoot me back. Really unfortunate miss, because now I have to deal with him, and this thing's reload is not quick enough to just deal with enemies like in one quick succession. You really have to get distance when you're trying to engage enemies when possible, or you need some kind of escape route in order to engage them, because otherwise you'll just get out DPM'd. But I do pick up the Arty, and we're at 5,600 damage and 1,000 spotting, which is pretty good. Now here, you'll notice I just sat here while I was still lit, and I did that on purpose. I wanted to make him think that I was still here, but as soon as I got unlit, I moved forward, and I was going to poke him around this corner and catch him off guard. And as you can see, he's still looking at where I was less lit. He has no idea that I'm here, and so I get the advantage on him. Now they're capping, and it seems like they're committing to the cap because I'm the last one alive. There's no one to chase down besides me. So I just want to get back to the cap as quick as possible. I know that there's very little I can do now to avoid the enemies. I'm just going to have to hope and pray that they're not in a position to kill me, really. Here I take a snapshot. I think I aimed it well, to be honest. I might have to rewatch it to see if I actually did aim it well, but I'm pretty sure I did. It just happened to miss. This thing's gun handling is just not good. Now I have a 16-second reload, and there was 18 seconds left on cap when I started reloading. So right now I'm just planning to get off my last 2 shots. And in order to do that, I have to poke as soon as I'm reloaded, basically. But in the middle of my reload, I notice he gets off the cap, and so now I'm gonna go back to trying to win the game as best I can. So I'm gonna be going for the one shots. I'm just gonna ignore the 50 TP because he's basically full health. There's nothing I can do to stop him. So I'm trying to get the one shots right here. Now the T30 tries to shoot at me. Unfortunately, I get really unlucky and I bounce him. And again, I'd go for a very risky shot there because I'm trying my best to get as close to a win as possible, really. If I was going for DPG in this game, then firing that shot probably wouldn't make sense. I probably would have taken the shot anyways, but taking a shot in return there is not ideal because it means that I might not get off another clip. So here, I have nowhere to run really besides this way, and I'm just hoping that their G-Sor isn't priming me. I knew he was on the cap, so I kind of figured he would be sitting in some of these bushes. I thought he might be down here, just somewhere to cover this south of the hill, because he knows I was last lit here. So where's he going to be expecting me to come from? Either from up here or from down here. So I know he would probably be set up somewhere to shoot me. But I don't actually manage to get off another clip because I took that shot from the IS-6. Again, if I didn't take that shot, then I could have gotten off another clip. To be fair though, they weren't exactly the easiest shots, so I would have had to pen a lower plate of a 50 TP, which is pretty difficult with 240 penetration, especially if he's angling. So I end up dying, but hopefully this replay has taught you something about how to play Airfield, especially from the west spawn, and hopefully you learned a thing or two about situational awareness in these kind of situations and what you need to be going for, how to keep your distance from enemies, especially if you're in an autoloader, something like a Batchet, etc. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.